Welcome everybody back to boostinmotion, guys. And today I want to have this conversation with y'all. Let me turn this volume down a little bit. Let's talk about downpipes for the vr30, Q50, Q60, and including Nissan Z. So guys, let's jump into the video. Now, in this video, you're going to look at me. I know, you're tired of looking at me, but definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification. I'm going to make this a theoretical video, off the head, things that I already know, things I've actually researched, because I had a lot of you guys hit me up about the 3.5-inch full downpipes that are now on the market for the vr30. And if you haven't checked my channel, take a look. I made a section on pretty much from buying your Q50, from the right things to do, all the way through your modding process until you gain the most amount of power of the vehicle. But a lot of people want me to do some updated, older videos of things that are out of date now, such as downpipes. So guys, I want to jump into that. If you guys don't already know what a downpipe is, at the end of the day, a downpipe is your catalytic converter that is on your car. Almost all cars in the United States sold come with a catalytic converter so that we don't kill the poor little earth. Let's get that out the way. Now, you want to cut those catalytic converters off or remove them and replace them with downpipes because we have a turbo car. We want those turbines, because it's just like a fan, and it's part of the exhaust. You want them to spool up as fast as they can so you could increase the amount of PSI and or increase the efficiency of your turbos so you could gain more low-end torque and higher peak wheel horsepower. Cool. That's it. I hope I gave the best explanation of that. Now, for the vr30 Q50, you have different variations of downpipes you can go with. They're still in the market where you can choose to purchase upper and lower downpipe. The OEM catalytic converter is in two sections. You can go with a lower downpipe and still have an upper. You can go with an upper downpipe and still have the lower. And you can choose to replace both of them and go with a full downpipe. So that's one of your options. You can actually sectionalize, go with the upper and lower downpipe. Now, at the end of the day, it seems like that's not that common in this platform anymore. The most common thing you will see is lower downpipe install. The reason being is it is the easiest to install. 2 bolts to the back, 3 bolts to the top. A lot easier, a little bit quicker to do. Kind of. Now, the horsepower gain from that is a turbo car. So you will notice a quite little boost in the edginess or how quick the car may spool up. The turbos might spool up even from stock to factory to even modified. Fully tuned on whatever fuel you're on, right? And you could do this stock, JB4, no matter what. And you can run a lower downpipe on a complete stock car. You do not need to tune for a lower downpipe. Okay, guys? You hear me? Cool. Do you guys... Now, I would actually recommend skipping doing the lower downpipes officially. I've been in this platform since the inception of it. I think you guys should actually skip the lower downpipe install. The reason being is I believe parts have gotten a lot cheaper and more companies have come out with upgraded, which I will talk about next, full downpipes, which will give you a better performance gain and replace the whole unit as one set. And it's pretty much the same labor costs. And you guys know I like to save I'm boost on the budget, so I like you guys to save money. All right. Now, the only downside I can see other than doing a lower downpipe or upper downpipe or how you would do this configuration, most of them, all of them come in a 2.5-inch downpipe. Now, most of the catback exhaust that you will find out here is going to be 2.5-inch. So it kind of goes along with that, but we're going to jump into the full downpipe next, which you could pretty much set those catback exhausts up properly with the full downpipe. All right, and another downfall is you're not yielding the most amount of performance to the 2.5-inch because it is still 2.5-inch. It's a lot bigger than the OEM, but if you want the most amount of performance, even if you went with a upper and lower, both when you remove the catalyst, it's still going to be a 2.5-inch. You might as well just go with a full one-piece design, full downpipe. All right, I don't want to repeat myself. Second, you're going to go with a full downpipe. That's when they make one section from the turbo to your catback exhaust, no 2-piece catalyst converter setup. It's just going to be one section that comes right from the turbo back to the catback exhaust. Now, guys, you will see some on the market that are 2.5-inch, and you will see 3-inch. And then when you're around this time, you're also going to see different names being thrown around like full catless. You'll see full catted. You'll see resonated, right? And in shout out to AAM competition, you'll even see them use cast. I think it's cast material. You might, but that's not really that common in this platform yet. I still only see them that do this material, but you'll see those 3 names be thrown around, right? First, And we're talking about the two different designs. We'll get into the 3.5 inch right after this. You have the 2.5 inch full catless or catted. Let's talk about catless and catted. Catless means there's no catalyst material, right? This catalyst material is supposed to filter your exhaust gases so you don't kill the earth and kill the duckies and give us cancer, right? So, but some people like to have it full catless because you can hear the turbo spool up a little bit more. But in some states, people go full catted because they might have inspections and stuff like that through the city and or state to make sure the car is running right, if you know what I mean. So if you whatever you choose, the difference in power is very similar. It's not that much of a huge difference in power. As you go to bigger turbos and stuff like that, it comes more into play. But in stock turbo form, catted downpipe and catless are very similar in performance. It's just the catless will yield a little bit more peak wheel horsepower. All right, cool. Now, 2.5 inch. This is the most smallest full downpipe you can get, no matter if it's catted or not catted or catless. Understand that if you're pairing it with a 2.5 inch exhaust, I'm okay with that. I think that's fine. Cool. Next, 3-inch catless or catted downpipe. Now you're gonna start seeing other names like resonated involved here. Resonated only means that it's supposed to mitigate some of the bees in the can noise or bring down some of the noise that you would hear from exhaust pulses. But to be honest with y'all, because it's a VR30 and it has an integrated exhaust manifold, you're really not going to hear a lot of those noises that you would hear like on a VQ, because you're not going to hear those same noises. It's muffled out because of the turbo. So I think resonated you should actually pass on, because it doesn't really change much of the pitch or difference of the exhaust. It's really catted versus catless that change the most amount of sound, all right? The 3-inch exhaust, the 3-inch full downpipe, you can do catted or full or catless. If you choose to do one of those two, once again, can you bolt up a 3-inch downpipe, full catted downpipe or catless to a 2.5-inch exhaust? Yes, because most of these manufacturers that make most of these parts, they design the flanges to bolt up to a 2.5-inch exhaust. If you check any of my old videos, I actually have videos and photos where I show you the transition. So they'll make the midsection of the catted downpipe to be 3 inches overall, but as it comes to the end of the flanges, they'll actually start to recess or get smaller at the flange surface. So it always, technically, it's not full 3 inches. From the start, it's 2.5 inch, then it opens up to 3 inch, and then it goes back down. I hate to do the hand gestures, but you guys know what I mean. So it's not full 3 inch, and that they do this so that it can be used on OEM and or aftermarket setups. All right. Now, you guys are probably asking a question. Well, can I rock a full catless downpipe? Because you didn't tell me that before. Can I run a full catted downpipe without a tune? Yes, you can still run full catted downpipe without tune, as I said a little earlier, even with the OEM cats. But understand, when you run full catless, you have a greater chance of running to check engine lights and a lot more smoke, a lot more smells. And honestly, running full catless, not saying that you're beating on the car all the time, you really shouldn't, but you should get it tuned when you're full catless. It's still recommended, and honestly, you should definitely do it. But full catted, you can actually rock with it untuned, depending on the cell count. I'm not really going to get into that in the video because I believe the cell count, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's for race purposes only, all right? If you care about that, write cell count below so I can make maybe a small reel or YouTube short about the different catalytic cell count so that I can break it down for you guys. Now, 3.3 inches is pretty much the most common that most people use in this market, and it yields the best amount of performance, especially on stock turbos, upgraded pure turbos, and now we have, guess what? We have Z1 Motorsports upgraded turbos too. So we know for a fact that going 3-inch full catless downpipes is going to yield the most peak amount of wheel horsepower, right? And going to, let's say, and transitioning down to a 2.5 inch may actually still yield not yield, but reduced amount of top end wheel horsepower, because at the higher RPM, we want that exhaust to get out there as fast as possible. So when we come to going to the maximum amount of power for like a pure turbo, when we're talking about upgraded turbos, we want to make sure that we're going to also match that up with a 3-inch exhaust, right? We need to have that, all right? Now, I want to preface this by sitting and say this to all you guys on video. Understand, the pipe that connects right to the, you know what? Let's talk about the. Let me just break it down like this. We have a vr30 that has an integrated exhaust manifold. You guys know what headers are. If you don't know it, I can't break it down in video. I don't got no examples. But we have an integrated exhaust manifold, which means that the exhaust pretty much from every different cylinder just goes into a chamber that's still part of the block, right? There's no separate exhaust port for there's a separate exhaust port for each cylinder, but there's no exhaust header that goes from each different cylinder. It's 3 cylinders on each side. Usually you'll see one pipe coming off from each, and then they go into integrate to from 3 to 1 to the exhaust. It doesn't do that. It goes into a chamber like a little box, and it just comes out this rectangular opening. This is terrible for flow design. So this is why the exhaust, pretty much the heads or the exhaust manifold, integrated exhaust manifold, is terrible for flow. Now you slap a turbo on that with no direction for where the exhaust is supposed to flow. It's just supposed to push out because of pressure. There's no direction for it to run into those, actually run into the turbine. So it's a terrible exhaust flow, right? And then you put a terrible exhaust and catted downpipe on it. Why am I saying this, guys? Because no matter how big you make this exhaust for this car, it is still limited based on its head design or integrated exhaust design. So now we'll introduce 3.5-inch full downpipes. Catted or not catted. I don't really know too much if that's seen catted yet. Think about it like this. If you want the quickest amount of turbo spool, you want the quickest, the lowest amount of torque in the RPM, rip your exhaust off, get the car somehow tuned for that. If it could even pick up the oxygen sensor reading, whatever, right? With like downpipes or what they would say, shorty downpipes or dump pipes. That's what they call it, dump pipes. No exhaust. You still get the reading from this to tune the car properly. The turbos are going to spool up the fastest because there's literally no back pressure and it's a very short run for the turbines. As the exhaust flows through as the exhaust gases flow through the exhaust, the mufflers, through the pipes that run through the back of the car, it starts to cool. That's why you sometimes, guys, you see condensation on low idle stock turbos modified. It's just the exhaust cooling and condensating in the exhaust piping, right? So if you have a 3.5-inch exhaust and you put 3.5-inch downpipes, and you put pures on there, and you put Z1 turbos on there, and you have dumps on there, and you go full send, and you go max effort, yes, those turbos are going to spool up the fastest they can. Now, do I know if it's going to be a difference between 3.5-inch to 3-inch? Honestly, that all depends on the turbo's design. Honestly. Because the limited, this is how I think about it. The limiting factor is the exhaust, the integrated exhaust. So we gain power coming from 1.75-inch downpipes to 2.5-inch to 3-inch. Now, do I think 3.5-inch will yield a little bit more peak power? Yes. Do I know theoretically how much more? We don't know exactly yet. But you have to, once again, compare that 3.5-inch downpipe with an exhaust that follows. Now, in your mind, y'all will sit there and say, well, 3.5-inch exhaust should also be paired with 3.5-inch. Downpipe should be paired with 3.5-inch exhaust. In my mind, now we have really large exhaust pipes coming from the cab back. Now, that means that if you want the peak most amount of power, once again, think about GTRs with their big, huge exhaust, right? You want the peak most amount of power, right? Of course, and you have large turbos, you're going full ham. Yes, it sounds theoretically right to put 3.5-inch exhaust with 3.5-inch downpipes with large Z1 turbos or Garrett G25s. That makes a lot of sense because these turbos are shooting out a lot more exhaust than before, right? But I'm going to say this once again. The limiting factor is still, it's still the integrated exhaust manifold. So I think there's a threshold at some point where it's like you can add as much large exhaust you want to back to this turbo car At some point, the turbines are flowing the best they can. The less amount of bends, the easier it's going to flow. Keeping the exhaust flow and heat up gets the exhaust out a lot quicker. When you add larger exhaust, it allows the exhaust gases to cool a lot quicker. Even though they come out pretty fast, they cool out a lot quicker going back. At some point, there'll be a threshold. So I can't, theoretically, it should make additional power, guys. Theoretically, I'm in my head from what I've been reading. Theoretically, but all the dynos I've been looking at online that talk about 3.5-inch downpipes aren't from cars that have similar head designs such as the VR30. These guys, a GTR would definitely benefit from a 3.5-inch downpipe and 3.5-inch exhaust because it doesn't have an integrated exhaust manifold. You get what I'm trying to say? It doesn't deal with that. It doesn't have to deal with that at all. But when we add these larger turbos and the reason why, I know I'm going off the head, guys. The reason why it just doesn't benefit because when you have an actual header design with the turbo, you can also use the wastegates, right? You usually have an external wastegate, or if the turbo has an internal wastegate that it flows quite well, you can get that exhaust gases to come out either through a different pipe or through the same chamber, and that would add even more exhaust flow to or turbulence to the exhaust, right? So turbos really get the most amount of performance in that first 3 feet of, I would say 2 to 3 feet of exhaust connected to its back or its exhaust. You guys know what I'm talking about. It gets the most amount of performance right then and there. After that, that's when you're really pushing crazy power. So I know I ranted a little bit too much about the 3.5-inch. I'm trying my best to be as respectful because we just have to wait and see. But in my opinion right now, the 3.5-inch is for big toys. It's for big turbos, VR30 turbos, Z1 turbos, and pures or any other aftermarket. But on stock turbos, unless I don't even know if they even bolt up to the stock turbos. But because that means they would have to, if they bolt up to pures, they bolt up to stock turbos. If you know that you're going to want to do Z1 or pures in the future, and they know that if they do bolt up, then it would make sense to purchase these now and at least get your exhaust set up now so that you don't have to spend money twice. But if you're a guy that I said in these videos, I had every stage or every episode where you would want to just get off the powertrain. If you're going to be the guy who's on 93 or 91, you're going to put a downpipe exhaust in the intake and the heat exchanger. If that's who you are, that's what you're going to call it, just do a 3-inch catted or full catless downpipe and call it a day. I think at that point, if you just want to say you got it, it's like getting a Rolex. You got the Rolex for the name, the brand, the prestige, but, it is what it is. It's up to you. So, yeah. That's it. I ranted a little too much, but I kept it really original, just honest. I didn't give no pictures or nothing. This is from what I know and what I always dealt with in these different cars that I've had over the years. And I would say in the last 8 years, I've owned a lot of turbo vehicles now. Too much, to be honest with you. But for us, I just don't see the yield, the best performance. I see a 3.5-inch downpipe being good on 6-to-1 cars or 2-to-1. Like a B58 has all the exhaust ports on one side, so it's 6-to-1, 6-to-1, or 6 going to one turbo and one turbo shooting out. In that case, it would probably make the most sense depending on the size of the turbo, but because there's so much exhaust gases that have to go somewhere. But a 1.5 liter with a 3.5-inch exhaust, might be a little too much. But outside of that, guys, if you thought this was a good video, I really appreciate you guys for letting me know. Definitely tap in with the different exhaust modifications. I still recommend all of them, no matter what. Pick your poison and make sure that you make the best choice for your vehicle. Outside of that, guys, you have a good day. Appreciate you.